talked about the economic analysis. We did publish an economic analysis of the proposals that the government had put forward.
Order. There's plenty of scope for disagreement about what is true and what isn't true, but in fairness, I repeat the point that the person who has the floor must be heard. The Prime Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I say to the right honourable gentleman that I think in his intervention from a sedentary position he may have inadvertently misled the House on this matter. No. The government.
What was that? Order. Forgive me. I didn't hear what was said. I hope the word liar wasn't used, but order. I'm perfectly capable of handling this matter with alacrity, and I shall do so. If that word was used without equivocation or qualification, that word must be withdrawn at once. At once. Order. If a member on the front bench used that word, I'm sorry, I'm not debating it, I'm not arguing, I'm not negotiating. That word must be withdrawn at once. Who was the person that used the word? Mr Blackford? I'm advised, I admit I didn't see which member used it. I'm advised, I think on good authority, that word was used by the leader of the Scottish National Party. If so, I want the debate to continue, and it will, but if so, I simply ask the right honourable gentleman to withdraw that word. He cannot accuse another member in this House of dishonesty. Withdraw.
In courtesy to yourself, I withdraw for courtesy to yourself.
No, there are plenty of precedents for that. I remember doing it once myself. And I remember a member of the Shadow Cabinet from West Bromwich once doing it out of deference to the chair rather than the person whom he'd been attacking. That's enough.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm most grateful, although I rise more in sorrow than I do in anger. You know, we live through exceptional times, and it's one thing to hear the Prime Minister refer to having wanted to have this decided in December when she actually took it off the table. If that wasn't bad enough, when I pressed her on the issue of the economic analysis of her deal, she said, and I quote, "The government has published economic assessments of the proposals that have been put forward." And furthermore, she went on to say that I had perhaps inadvertently misled the House. Mr. Speaker, that beggars belief, because if anyone has inadvertently misled the House, it is indeed the Prime Minister, because the facts of the situation are the Treasury published an economic analysis of Brexit in November before the Prime Minister's deal that in no way refers to the Prime Minister's deal. This goes way beyond spinning, but perhaps more importantly is that this House is going to be asked to vote on a proposition that we haven't been given the economic impact assessment on. So I'm asking two things. Firstly, can the Prime Minister perhaps correct the record from what she said earlier? And secondly, what options are open to us to make sure that we go through perhaps the most important vote that this House has taken place on, that we do have the facts of the economic assessment? And finally, it is the case in any of the Brexit assessments that were made by the Treasury that will be worse off than the current deal. That's the fact and the reality of the situation. The Prime Minister really has to earn some grace.
I mean, the Prime Minister has been at the dispatch box for 2¼ hours and has answered all inquiries. She's welcome to return to the dispatch box if she wants in response to what's been said, but she's under no obligation to do so. Under no obligation to do so. Well, if she wishes, of course, the Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I confirm what I said earlier was that the government put forward a deal, and economic analysis was done on that deal. The political declaration, which is part of what was brought to this House, the right honourable gentleman says that there was no reference to that in the economic analysis. The economic analysis indicated the variation that might be necessary or might be the impact as a result of the various elements of the spectrum of choice on friction at the border. That reflected the fact that the political declaration had not confirmed the point at which friction would or would not occur. That was in the economic analysis that was published before this House took the vote on the meaningful vote.
Can I just... No. Can I very gently say to the Right Honourable Gentleman that I think for today honour is served. I was very happy to hear the Right Honourable Gentleman's point of order, and the Prime Minister has graciously responded. I don't wish to invest the proceedings with levity, but insofar as the Right Honourable Gentleman asks what can be done to ensure that all the facts are in the possession of the House at the point at which key votes take place, I don't suppose that the Right Honourable Gentleman is investing me with such powers to assure that state of affairs. I cannot, not least because one person's fact is another person's opinion. That is in the nature of political argument. All I would say, and I think another example of it has been provided today by the exchanges on this statement, for which again I thank the Prime Minister and all colleagues. This House will always have the fullest possible opportunity, institutionally and in terms of individual members, to state views, to pose questions and to extract answers. That's the best we can do, and my role is simply to try to facilitate that. I'm glad I think we finished on a reasonably harmonious note, and let's perhaps leave it there for now.